Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining and welcome back to Wall Street Silver. Joining us today is my good friend, Jeffrey Tucker, the founder and president of the Brownstone Institute. Welcome back, Jeffrey.
It's good to be here, and thank you for making time for me in these crazy times, right?
Yeah, no, I absolutely thank you for coming down to Wall Street Silver. It's always a huge pleasure. I wanted to start off by, yeah, let's talk about these crazy times happening in the world
Yeah.
and the economy. Where do you, what's your take on
The
everything?
so implausibly, and I think we're all kind of have to get used to this. The election has made a gigantic difference in the outlook, and looking back at it, it seems clear that the Trump machinery knew exactly what was going to happen, and they knew it 4 years ago, and they plotted and planned it. And the first job they looked at was getting rid of 10 to 15 million fake votes. And they figured that that would put them over the top. But then just to assure the victory, they went out and recruited the disenfranchised part of the electorate, which nobody sort of knew this except the experts. And it's men under the age of 40 who'd never bothered to vote this time. They got out and voted because they had reason to, bro culture and all that, sort of the manosphere, as they say.
Right.
More than that, I mean, just the admiration of Trump, and then beyond that, develop a popular movement so that they could outperform Taylor Swift and Beyonce and so on, because they knew the opponents would have to rely on that. So putting all that together, the people who were least surprised was the Trump machinery that's been working on this for the last 4 years. But what's critical is that we haven't really seen political change in this country in about 100 years, serious political change. I mean,
Right.
ever since Woodrow Wilson, it's just been more and more deep state, ever less and less freedom. And there's every reason why people are optimistic right now. And the great thing is that the incoming administration is how should I say, driven to achieve some things on censorship and on deep state control, and probably roll back the entrenchment of the civil service, and we're talking about getting rid of the income tax and lots of other things. That's all going to begin with the American version of Bastille Day, where all the political prisoners are going to be released, including Ian Freeman and Roger Ver and Ross Ulbricht and all the January 6th people that are in jail for absolutely no reason, and so on. So that Bastille Day, will go down in history, and that will all be emblematic of an emancipation of capital, emancipation of income,
Hmm.
uh, emancipation from regulations, and a lot of this is going to be accomplished through executive order. But now that they have the House and the Senate and the popular vote for a real mandate, a lot of those executive orders are going to be converted to legislation so that Obama's judges won't be able to, push in DC, won't be able to push injunctions against them. So that's really critical.
There's about $15 trillion worth of physical gold in the world sitting there costing money rather than being used. It's just absolutely insane. Monetary Metals is bringing gold back into the financial world, putting gold to productive use right now. The problem with gold, of course, in physical form is that it's heavy, it's cumbersome, it's not particularly easy to ship, and it costs money to store in a protected manner. This platform Monetary Metals created is a proven concept and allows gold to be put to productive use. So instead of sitting there costing you money, it's actually in use earning you money.
Learn how you can earn 2 to 5% in our leasing program and how accredited investors can earn up to 12% on silver paid in silver. This advertisement is not investment or financial advice. Minimum investment applies.
The other thing is that expectations are extremely high.
Right.
We've lived through 4 years of what is very obvious, what I've been saying for 4 years, which has now become very obvious, that we have an enormously top-heavy society with a tiny group of elites that are ruling the vast numbers of shrinking middle class and growing working classes. And
Right.
this is represents the closest thing an industrial democracy will ever have to a revolution. And from an economic point of view, this is all very good news. I just noticed being out shopping today, the shoppers are everywhere, It really something. I don't know if I'm just now seeing it or what, but the people are out despite all the high prices and so on. So this is going to unleash a lot of pent-up capital and a lot of wild exuberance in the investment sector. We've had very low investment for the better part of 4 years. Uh, Now, that said, I've gone on a long monologue, but I would like to shift and just say something that
Right.
is very important here. The Biden administration has been lying for 4 years in cooperation with the national media and all the financial press and the agencies about the health of the economy. It's
Right.
in terrible condition. We never really got out of the recession of 2020. There was a brief, ever so brief recovery in 2021, but plunged straight into recession in the first 2 quarters of 2022, and we've been stuck there ever since.
Yeah.
And all the other data you read is all just nonsense. And the last year of spending, the Federal Reserve has added $1.1 trillion to the money stock,
Wow.
and that has soared. What they've been trying to do is make the GDP sort of pretty, going into the election, thinking that they could gaslight the public into the idea that things are going really well. They're not. So Trump inherits this, a catastrophic debt situation, a money stock that's growing, that's going to show itself in inflation by the summer, and very, very low productivity. So all that is true.
Yeah.
On the other hand, it means that wherever we go from here is going to be up.
And
Right.
Jeffrey, you nailed something on the head here where it's like no matter kind of which president that comes in, whether it's Trump, Biden, left or right, the underlying issue, I guess, is still there's still a debt bubble, still printing money like crazy. The economy is in bad shape. This next 4 years, I think it'll be crazy just on the economical standpoint and what's
Yeah.
happening with the debt.
So what the Trump administration, first of all, let's just be honest. There's nothing a president can do about inflation.
Right.
He says drill, baby, drill, because he says the inflation is caused by high energy prices. Well, sadly, I mean, that's not really true.
Yeah.
Higher energy prices cause higher energy prices. They don't cause a general rise. They can cause price pressure in some sectors, but
Right.
it's possible what we've seen. So, and also the oil price is frankly not that high. If you drive it down too much lower, you're actually going to mitigate against higher productivity,
Right.
because the drilling, the processing, the refining, and the delivery only happens at higher prices, not lower prices, when the profitability is there. So that's a little bit of a dangerous game. I'm glad they're going to, frack and drill and everything. That's all great. But that's not going to solve the inflation problem.
Right.
So look, and this is where we get into very difficult, challenging areas, because since about the 1930s, there's been a myth out there that inflation is caused by the economy overheating, as I say. That is a freaking lie. It's
Right.
just a lie, and I don't know how we're ever going to stop that lie. I could maybe, take out billboards on the highway or something. That is not true. In fact, the opposite is true. The more economic growth the Trump administration can inspire through deregulation, tax cuts, capital gains cuts, income tax, and really deregulation, and that leads to wealth creation, which drives deflationary pressure, which will mitigate against the inflationary pressure. That's the biggest hope we have. The second one
Right.
is stop the printing. That can only come if we stop the debt issuance. And so Elon Musk is really crucial here. We need 2 trillion out of that budget like right away, and that can come out of the elimination of at least 100 agencies, which I think is planned. So
Right.
that's good. So all those things will. So on one hand, we have the inflationary pressure. On the other hand, we can maybe eat a lot of that with just rising gains and wealth creation.
Right.
There is the problem of course, Trump's personal obsession with tariffs. And another thing you're going to read in the financial press over the next year, prepare yourself for these idiots. They're going to say that the tariffs are fueling inflation. They are not. All they're going to do is increase relative prices and for consumers,
Right.
businesses that are importing inputs. Okay, so that is a factor, and there will be upward pressure prices in those discrete areas of imports. But by the way, uh, how to put this? It's very interesting when you look at import prices over the last 3 years of
Hmm.
high inflation. They have not risen even, maybe maybe 15% of the
Right.
total. The import prices have not been faced with a lot of inflation. The reason for that is, well, they're not subject to it. I mean, with production in currencies not the dollar. I mean, that's the reason for imports. I mean, they're so cheap that, and they've really gotten a boost during this inflationary times. The
Right.
dollar-based goods and productions are soaring, but the import prices are low. So import prices are going to rise, but domestically produced dollar-based production is probably going to flat, is not going to be as affected. So we can afford a little bit of that. I'm not for tariffs. On the other hand,
Right.
if you're raising revenue with tariffs rather than income taxes, that's probably on that a trade-off. One thing that's a little bit strange about the tariffs, though, is that there's two big objectives with tariffs. One is to protect the local industry, the other is to raise revenue.
Right.
Those are potentially incompatible. In other words, the more you protect, the less you're trading, right? And
Right.
the less
Right.
you're trading, the less the revenue. So they're going to have to figure that one out.
Yeah, because if you put a ridiculous amount of tariffs, then there's no products or goods coming in, less revenue. It's going to affect jobs.
Precisely.
Right. Right. Yeah. Hey, what about gold and silver, Jeffrey? Where are we
Oh,
heading for
I
gold and
listen.
silver?
I mean, it's broken out of its doldrums, as you know, and
Yeah.
I don't expect that trend is going to change anytime soon. I think we've broken into a new level on both gold and silver. We have a new enthusiasm for financial independence,
Yeah.
which and in addition to the industrial uses of these metals, lots of people are now actually storing up physical gold and silver for themselves in the event of something like a Hurricane Helene, where all the credit cards, didn't work and so on.
Yeah.
And strangely, I think gold and silver are going to benefit from a new emphasis on financial independence and privacy and all
Yeah.
these other factors. So I think, it's not as if those are going to settle down or anything like that. So I
No.
think we're headed to a new era of confidence in freedom and in independence, and part of that is going to be accumulating hard assets. The
Yeah.
other thing is that we don't know to what extent the Trump administration is even capable of mitigating against the push for CBDCs and financial surveillance. I mean, we hope they're going to try to do that, but that's a highly complicated problem, and you're dealing with a real beast of a machinery out there.
Oh yeah.
So,
It'll be
we just
tough.
don't know. It's going to be tough. In the meantime, there is going to be there's a new awareness of the need to protect yourself, protect your personal privacy and your financial independence against the beast that's coming, the Borg that's coming to devour those things.
Yeah, whatever you said in this interview, you absolutely nailed it, Jeffrey. Like it's such a like it's so nice having you on because it's so easy and simplified when you explain how everything's going and where we're heading.
No,
Uh,
it's
it's
it's all
nice.
because of you. You have this uncanny way of calling me exactly when I'm just exploding with things to say. Every time it happens, that's why I take over the interview with these endless word salads or whatever. It's
No, it's
because I have a lot to say, so I appreciate it.
yeah, no, absolutely fantastic. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put all your links in the description below so people can connect with you. And everyone watching, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. And Jeffrey, thank you so much. Where can people connect with you? I'm going to put the links in the description, but
I
where
write
can
every day at Epoch Times and then quite often at brownstone.org, and of course my favorite platform to post on now is X, of course. X that saved the world. So yeah, I like it.
Awesome. I'll put all the links in the description, and everyone please follow Jeffrey. Such a great wealth of knowledge. And yeah, thank you so much, Jeffrey.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Talk to you soon.